All right, let's talk about something that it might just make your skin crawl a little bit. But trust me, it's in a really fascinating way. We're going to dive into this strange but super common feeling called trypophobia.
Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever been looking at something totally harmless, like a honeycomb or a lotus seed pod, heck, even a simple kitchen sponge, and just felt this weird shiver run down your spine? If you're nodding along, you are so not alone. Yeah, that feeling? It actually has a name. It's called trypophobia. And what it is this really intense feeling of discomfort or even fear when you see clusters of small holes or bumps or really any kind of repetitive pattern. It's not the sponge you're afraid of, right? It's that specific look, all those little holes packed together.
Now, here's a little clarification. Technically, trypophobia isn't an officially classified phobia. You won't find it in the big medical books next to, say, a fear of spiders. But that doesn't make the feeling any less real. I mean, for people who experience it, that discomfort is super powerful, and it hits you instantly.
So that just brings up the biggest question of all, right? Why? Why on earth do our brains freak out over a simple pattern? Well, let's unpack some of the ideas behind it.
Okay, so researchers are looking at a few main possibilities here. First, maybe it's just a natural disgust we have for certain visual textures. Simple as that. Or maybe it's something deeper, like our brain is making a subconscious connection between these patterns and something dangerous, like an infection or a skin condition. And for some people, it could just be tied into a more general anxiety or sensitivity.
But the theory that really gets a lot of attention is that this whole thing might just be an evolutionary leftover, an ancient survival instinct that's still hardwired into our brains. It's like a little alarm that goes off, screaming danger when it sees patterns that look like parasites or infections or even venomous animals. Think about it. That would have been a pretty useful instinct for our ancestors, right?
And we're not just talking about a quick ooh moment. No way. For a lot of people, trypophobia triggers a very real, very physical reaction.
I mean, it's a full body thing. People actually report feeling sick to their stomach, getting goosebumps all over, or even feeling this creepy, intense need to scratch their skin. It's a completely visceral reaction, and it just goes to show how powerful that mind-body connection really is.
And then there's what you do. Beyond just how you feel physically, there's this overwhelming urge to just look away. You know that feeling? You gotta scroll past that picture immediately, or turn your head to get it out of your sight. That avoidance is a huge part of the whole experience.
But here's the thing. Even though that feeling can be super intense in the moment, for most folks, trypophobia doesn't really mess with their daily lives in a big way. It's usually just a really uncomfortable reaction when you happen to see a trigger, not something you're worried about all the time.
And that brings us to some really good news. If this is something that genuinely bugs you, you're not just stuck feeling this way forever. There are actually some really solid ways to manage it and dial that discomfort way down.
So what can you do? Well, therapy is a great option, especially something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It basically helps you retrain your brain's response. Another thing that works is gradual exposure. It sounds a little scary, but it's about carefully and slowly getting used to those images in a safe, controlled way. And hey, even simple things like deep breathing can work wonders to calm that instant physical freakout.
Look, it all comes down to this. You have options. This isn't some life sentence. With the right game plan, it is absolutely possible to reduce that sensitivity and make it way less of a big deal.
So, next time you feel that weird shiver when you look at a honeycomb or something, don't just brush it off as a strange quirk. Think about it for a second. What is this feeling really telling you about the ancient survival instincts that are still wired deep inside your brain? It's kind of a fascinating peek into where we all came from.